Welcome to Crime and Curiosities, the channel where mystery meets truth. Hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, because what we unravel here are the crimes that history tried to forget. Tonight's tale begins not with suspicion, but with sorrow. In the quiet rural city of Pocheon, South Korea, a man's unexpected death shakes his entire family to the core. It seemed that fate had simply dealt a cruel hand. But as time passed, a disturbing pattern emerged, one that would eventually unearth a chilling secret. This is the harrowing tale of the Pocheon Poisonings, as you've never heard it before. In August 2013, Lee, a hardworking man in his late 40s, was found unresponsive in his home. Lee was a family man, devoted to his one-year-old son, dedicated to his job, and a caring husband to his new wife. He also took care of his elderly mother, who lived with them. Lee suffered from chronic lung issues, and the doctors at the time attributed his death to complications from pneumonia. There were no signs of foul play. The hospital documented his cause of death, and the case was closed quickly. The local community mourned what appeared to be a tragic but natural death. Just months before Lee's death, his mother, already a fragile woman in her 70s battling dementia, heart arrhythmia, and respiratory issues, had suddenly fallen ill. She was hospitalized with a severe case of pneumonia and died within days. Again, the medical staff saw nothing unusual. Her advanced age and multiple health conditions made her passing seem unsurprising. The timing, while tragic, was not questioned. The family, still reeling from her loss, now had to cope with Lee's death as well. The year that followed brought no reprieve. In mid-2014, Lee's stepdaughter, a young girl in her teens suffering from lung fibrosis, was rushed to the hospital 3 times within a few months. Each episode brought severe abdominal pain, vomiting, and internal distress. Despite aggressive treatment, doctors were baffled by the origin of her symptoms. Still, she survived each time. No toxicology screening was performed because no one suspected poisoning. The family seemed cursed, plagued by death and illness. But beneath the surface of grief, a far darker truth was taking shape. The string of health-related tragedies finally caught the attention of the authorities. Investigators reviewing insurance records noted a troubling pattern. Following each medical emergency or death in this family, insurance payouts were filed. Lee's life insurance paid out nearly $484,000 US. His mother's small policy added another $10,000. The daughter's hospital visits each triggered payouts, amounting to $5,236 US per incident. All of the claims were filed by the same individual, No, Lee's widow. It wasn't just the money. Investigators looked into No's spending. In the months following Lee's death, she bought gold bars, a brand new luxury car, a $14,000 bicycle, and funded several expensive ski trips. For a single mother with no substantial income, the lifestyle seemed suspicious. Suspicions grew, and the police reopened the case. The turning point came when authorities exhumed Lee's mother, who, unlike Lee and others, had been buried instead of cremated. A full toxicological analysis was performed. The results stunned investigators. Her body contained traces of paraquat, a lethal herbicide banned in South Korea in 2012. Paraquat poisoning mimics respiratory failure, which made her symptoms indistinguishable from pneumonia. A search warrant was issued for No's home. There, in a storage closet, police found 2 bottles of paraquat. The labels had been replaced with stickers that read, "Floor Cleaner." Surveillance footage from earlier that year showed No purchasing the herbicide from a local supplier, disguised in large sunglasses and a hat pulled low. Confronted with the evidence, No remained silent, at first. Under interrogation, No eventually confessed to poisoning the food and drinks of her victims with paraquat. She masked the bitter taste with dark sauces, chili paste, and fermented condiments. Her method was cold and calculated. She chose times when her victims were already sick to deflect suspicion and allow doctors to attribute the deaths to natural causes. No admitted to poisoning her second husband, Lee, and his mother. She also confessed to administering small doses to her daughter on 3 separate occasions. But when asked why she did it, her answers were evasive. She claimed her mother-in-law had looked down on her and her children. Regarding her daughter, she insisted she never intended to kill her, only to claim small insurance payouts. As investigators unraveled her story, a deeper, more horrifying history came to light. The deeper they dug, the darker the tale became. In April 2011, 2 years before Lee's death, Na's first husband Kim had died under similar circumstances. He had inherited a large sum from his parents, only to lose it all in failed investments and business ventures. The financial strain had led to his divorce from No. After the divorce, Kim was found dead in his home after drinking a beverage from his refrigerator, later determined to be laced with paraquat. At the time, police ruled it a suicide. Paraquat was commonly used for suicide attempts in South Korea and was readily available in agricultural areas like Pocheon. The case was never reopened. But that wasn't all. Kim's mother, who had lived with them during the marriage, also fell suddenly ill around that time but recovered. It was later suspected that she, too, had been a target. Insurance records showed that Kim had 3 life insurance policies. Upon his death, over $336,000 was awarded to their daughter, who was still a minor. That meant No had full control of the money. Her motive in the earlier poisoning had been the same: profit and personal gain. No had been a bright, top-performing student in her youth. Teachers remembered her as quiet but exceptionally intelligent. But behind her academic success lurked darker tendencies. Neighbors described her as aloof, controlling, and obsessively clean. She avoided social events, maintained rigid daily routines, and micromanaged every aspect of her household. She discouraged visitors, never allowed her children to play outside without supervision, and rarely engaged with the community. Psychiatrists who evaluated her after her arrest diagnosed her with antisocial and narcissistic traits. They cited a complete lack of empathy, deep resentment towards her spouses, and an overwhelming desire to control her surroundings. Her crimes weren't impulsive. They were methodical, calculated, and devoid of remorse. The public was horrified as the case details emerged. South Korean media dubbed her the Pocheon Widowmaker. The courtroom was packed as No stood trial for the murders of her 2 husbands, her mother-in-law, and the attempted murder of her daughter. Witnesses described her as emotionally distant and manipulative. In August 2015, No was initially sentenced to 10 years in prison with an ankle monitor due to lack of direct evidence in some deaths. But after the toxicology reports, financial records, and her confession were fully presented, the prosecution appealed. In January 2016, her sentence was upgraded to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. The Pocheon Poisonings changed South Korean society. Lawmakers pushed for stricter controls on pesticides and more rigorous regulation of insurance fraud. Hospitals reviewed diagnostic procedures in unexplained deaths. The people of Pocheon, once a quiet and trusting community, became more vigilant and more fearful. For the families left behind, the wounds are still fresh. Children lost their father and grandmother. One child survived an attempt on her life by the very person meant to protect her. The betrayal runs deep, and healing remains a distant hope. You've just uncovered the haunting truths behind the Pocheon Poisonings right here on Crime and Curiosities. Like, share, and subscribe for more true stories that shock and enlighten. What are your thoughts on this case? Could anyone have stopped No before it was too late? Until next time, stay curious and vigilant.